on the warm-up lap for race 2 here at round 3 at Eastern Creek at the V8 Supercar Championship. We've got 32 cars, a full starting grid. There's 18 Fords taking on 14 Holdens, and at the front, it is Holden versus Ford. Scape and Ambrose on row 1 of the grid. Faulkner and Murphy, positions 3 and 4. Ingle, Ellery, Bernard, and Garth Tander.
Craig Lowndes and Stephen Richards, Todd Kelly and John Bowe starts out at 12. Rick Kelly and Paul Radisich, Stephen Johnson in the second shell Ford and Glenn Seaton.
Towards the back of the field, the Kiwi of Jason Richards, Neil Crompton, Greg Ritter starting for DJR this weekend. Max Wilson, the Brazilian, in position number 21. Perkins and Barguana is there in positions number 24. You've got Paul Wheel in 25, and right down to the last row of the grid, the Cat Racing Ford of Simon Wills and the Sydney-based team of Cameron McConville, the Lansvale Smash Repairs Commodore. So we've got some terrific conditions here. 18 degrees outside, 28 degrees on the track, and you'll be on board with a whole host of our drivers as we go round through round 3. Stephen Johnson in the Shell Helix Ford Falcon, car number 17. We've got a few cameras in there. We've also got cameras on board with Greg Murphy. That's a terrific shot. Give you a great view of this track. The Kmart Commodore, car number 51.
Craig Lowndes also carrying one of our cameras, many of our cameras. Ford in-car coverage. Craig for a better run today. Sort of Ford mid-pack or at the rear of the top 10 pack yesterday. Hopefully he can get a bit further up the grid. Let's check it out. The Ford race analysis of Eastern Creek. 32 starters, 39 laps the distance for these two races, just over 150 kilometres in distance. Pit window for the compulsory pit stop for tyres opens laps 2, closes lap 28. And the 2001 winner Mark Scape, he's on a roll. He's won this round 3 years in succession. Can he make it 4?
It'll be an absolutely awesome effort, a record-breaking effort. Now, we talk about our in-car cameras. This is one terrific view. You'll get inside the 4-time series champion. You'll be able to take a look as he's driving along this circuit, the LED readout that he's got on his steering wheel.
The critical thing he'll be looking at the moment is on the left, on the top row there, CH percentage, that's throttle percentage. And the engineers work out a throttle percentage that he has to reach before the car leaves the grid for maximum traction off the line. There's the race conditions they'll be fighting in today. Ambient temperature about 18 degrees, tack temperature 10 degrees higher than that, 28. Average cabin temperature about 26 degrees, but that'll come up as well as they get down to work.
And helping us along throughout this commentary for this race, Wayne Gardner, who of course isn't racing here this weekend. Welcome aboard, Wayne. This should be a hell of a start. Your teammate Marcus Ambrose is alongside Mark Scape. It's Commodore and Falcon at the front row of the grid. An interesting second row of the grid with John Faulkner, with Greg Murphy. Race start ready to take place. Here we go, race 2 of round 3 at Eastern Creek. Sunshine galore, big crowds, and a hell of a scrap in front of us. 39 laps, 150 Ks. Mark Scape got the power down first. Greg Murphy's charged up right behind Marcus Ambrose. Scape will take the line into turn 1, and Murphy is putting lots of pressure on the outside of Marcus Ambrose.
Great start by Murphy. You saw him leap off the line, really pounced on the Pertec Ford, and he's actually going to try and round up Mark Scape as well. He's gone way offline though.
Straight into the dirt at turn 2, the Kmart Commodore. He really took the jump out to Marcus Ambrose, and there's a spin there involving Brad Jones. Brad Jones in the Aussie Mail Ford Falcon caught at the exit of 2, rear panel damage to the Aussie Mail Ford Falcon. Let's see what happened at the front of the field as Murphy tried to make his way around Mark Scape. Well, in the end, it's just settled back to 1 and 2, hasn't it? Scape, Ambrose, Faulkner's in there as well. They've all held their positions except car number 51.
Yeah, Greg Murphy will be kicking himself there. Very aggressive start. He carried that momentum all the way through turn 1, all the way down to turn 2. Maybe got a little bit excited trying to take Scape around the outside, and he paid a big penalty, understeered off, and now he's lost a lot of track position.
He was committed, wasn't he, Wayne? Once he got out there, he was committed.
I think he was rather too ambitious for that for the second corner of the race. He's rushed in there with good speed, obviously, and the tyres still being cold, turned in, wouldn't turn, it's gone straight ahead onto the dirt and lost about 48 positions in the doing so. So it wasn't the smartest move, and particularly being a long endurance race like this, so big mistake.
One of the features that we'll show, like we did throughout race 1, the Twilight race, we'll be able to show you where the drivers have moved from their starting position. Have they gone up? Have they gone down? Well, Mark Scape comes across to the roars of the crowd, a packed crowd in the front grandstand of the main main straight. Here they go into turn one. This sweeping left-hander, 200 kilometres plus. That's Gartander. Behind him is Craig Lowndes. Skate with a 1:39.203 as the fastest time out there. Ambrose is second. Faulkner's behind him. Russell Ingall's in there, and David Bernard make up the top five.
Bernard ran really wide there. The exit to turn two. He's lucky he didn't lose a position there, Wayne. He went right off.
Yes, and also I noticed Marcus as well. You know, that's something that the guys have been trying to fight with the two cars, and they have made some changes from yesterday. And they said the biggest complaint is that they can't follow this man who's Skate in the tight corners. That's where they seem to get away. They just don't have the grip. They have made some changes, but looks like it may not be working just at this stage. Although it is very early in the race, and tyres are still a little bit cold.
Pressure here from Russell Ingall on John Faulkner. Man who's just taken an amazing step up in performance this weekend. Dynapack entry, just all of a sudden very, very competitive. But Russell Ingall now puts the squeeze on the car. No touch there, but very, very close. So Russell Ingall looks like he's in a hurry. I spoke to John Faulkner earlier this morning before this race. He said, well, if someone comes up and they can run faster than me, I really want to get some points, because he's very much aware of the qualifying situation at Hidden Valley in a few weeks' time, and he really wants to get some championship points on the board.
Kim Jones and the Aussie Mail crew have a stack of race tape on standby for Brad Jones. What they're saying at the moment is keep the Aussie Mail Falcon out there until the window opens. They'll try and patch it up during the stop.
Well, the pit window is open now for compulsory tyre change. We go back on board with Russell Ingall. Car heavily loaded up, 200 kilometres an hour. They tackle turn one. And it's hard on the brakes down toward turn two. Right down to about 70 Ks. He's really feeling the pressure from the Castrol man at the moment. The order: Skate, Ambrose, Faulkner, Ingall. Here's a replay of the start, Wayne.
Yeah, you can see Murph's done a very good start. He's gone down the outside. Now, this is going to be hard because Marcus has got line on the inside here, and basically Marcus, all he's got to do is hold it into the brakes, but Murph's had really good corner speed in the first up, particularly with cold tyres. He's rushed down on the outside, gone into the loose stuff and cold tyres, and so see you later into the dirt, and of course loses 48 positions out of it. So there's a big mistake, particularly in these sort of long endurance races.
Yeah, well, Greg Murphy ended up losing 9 positions in that. Paul Radicic was one of the big winners of the first lap. He went up 4 positions. So like we've been talking about, as John Faulkner once again gets the blowtorch from Russell Ingall at the very same turn. That's turn 10, coming down towards turn 11, and then they join up to the front straight for turn 12. Now, the last time they did this, the 46 car versus the 8 car, and in straight line speed, there was nothing in it. So the Castrol Commodore of Russell Ingall is going to have a pretty good battle on his hands with John Faulkner. This is exactly what Ingall did, just gets out into some clean air on the left-hand side of John Faulkner, and Faulkner pulls away.
Yeah, Matty, in the qualifying, Faulkner was very quick. He was like third or fourth fastest, and Russell was a long way back. But the situation's changed now because this is race distance and it's a long race, and they're carrying, 100-odd litres of fuel. So the cars tend to understeer a lot. You can see how wide it's going in that corner because they're carrying 100 litres of fuel right in the boot of the car, which basically puts all the weight over the back tyres. And of course, when you turn, you've got understeer. But when that fuel burns off, some of the grip will come back to the front. And these drivers can change the car inside to balance that out with the roll bar adjustment. As you can see them fiddling around with bars inside the car, but it's always a hard situation.
First Shell Ford comes into pit lane for the compulsory tyre change. Stephen Johnson goes early. He's going to get this stop out of the way and wait for the field to come back to him. Yeah, try and make hay while the sun shines. Get a good lap on the tyres. Try and make as much real estate up as he can.
That's easier said than done,
yeah.
Mark, because when the tyres are cold, as we've seen with Murph, you can easily spear off. So you're trying to make time. Very easy to flat spot a front tyre because they're not up to working temperature, and when you come into the turn and you've still got a boot full of fuel, they just understeer. So easy to say, but hard to do.
There's certainly a recurring theme when you come to Eastern Creek, isn't it? The word understeer. I mean, you've got to come here with the mindset that you're going to have to deal with it all the way throughout.
Yes, it's the difficult with this track is there's a couple of long, fast corners, and you just cannot get the cars to turn. But when you do get them to turn there, then they oversteer in the small corners. So you've got to have a balance. So I guess you've got to have some sort of understeer in the fast corners, but with the not oversteering too much in the slow corners, in the hairpins and so on. So it's always a bit of a difficult one.
Jason Bright saw Ford just trying to fight his way back through the field after that engine failure yesterday. Craig Lowndes carrying one of our many cameras this weekend. It's up behind Garth Tander in the Valvoline Cummins Commodore. Tander's in 7th, Lowndes is in 8th. So they haven't quite hit the sweet spot with this car this weekend. Lowndes just hasn't quite got the speed of those Stone Brothers Falcons.
No, they're not up to our cars at the moment, Mark, and which is good news.
Neil Crompton's in.
Compulsory tyre change out of the way for Crompton, so some teams choosing to come in early must be reasonably confident about the durability of this tyre over a longer distance. Here's Jason Bright. He's going to try the leapfrog trick as well. Had an engine problem yesterday, a broken oil seal. Had to stop the car, and that put him right down the order. So now he's going to try and leapfrog by taking his stop relatively early.
One of the fascinating things about the V8 Supercar Championship this year with these compulsory pit stops is that, well, the race can certainly be won and lost in pit lane. You can see for tiny little errors, little mistakes that cost you a second in pit lane can cost you a hell of a lot of time out on the track.
Well, 1 second on the racetrack is a long time, and it's very, very hard to make up. But, you know, 1 second in the pits or 2 seconds in the pit, you can make it up very quickly. So your pit crew's very, very important here.
Mark Skaife currently has the fastest sector times throughout the first 2 sectors, but Marcus Ambrose is the quickest around the last sector of this track. So it looks as though if they stay this way, there's a hell of a long way to go, though. 33 laps. You've got Skaife and Ambrose out the front. Faulkner and Ingle are behind them. Bernard, Ellery, Tander and Lowndes. That's the battle we're looking at right now. This man won here in 1996. His first ever V8 Supercar round win. That was Craig Lowndes. That's how he announced his arrival to the V8 world. And here's the Dynapack car of John Faulkner.
I was talking to John earlier today about trying to get an answer on this sudden increase in performance. He puts it down to a couple of major things. He was having all sorts of steering geometry problems with the car. He says they've got on top of that, so the car's turning much better. And they've also just completed a new engine development program with Dean Leopold, the engine builder, in-house at Faulkner's. And he said that 2 things have made a big difference to the performance of the car. Well, that's all he's done. It's a massive difference because he's leapt up from nowhere to be fighting in the top 4.
You know, Mark, I think that's hard to believe, to tell you the truth. I think that there's more to it than that. You know, engines can make a little bit. It might make another 10 or 20 horsepower more, but it doesn't make up, you know, 1 second or 2 seconds. I think there's a lot more to that story than we're hearing, but it's certainly working very good and handling well. And, you know, for example, he's holding off Russell Ingle, who's one of the top runners, and John's had a, you know, hasn't been a front runner in the past, and he's leading Russell very clearly and easily at this stage. So I think he's done a lot to the suspension, a real lot in general.
So look at this, closing in now on the back. Here comes Russell Ingle. He's been sizing him up a few laps. I think he might have it this time. 200 kilometres an hour side by side through turn 1. And Russell Ingle pulls off a beautifully clean manoeuvre, but Faulkner tries to sneak on the inside. Ingle closes the door and he picks up 3rd position.
Mark's, John's new engine wasn't that quick down the straight.
Yeah, if you look at, I was watching John Faulkner's car yesterday around the back of the circuit. If you look at the body language of it, the way it handles, it looks just like the HRT does.
Yeah, it's been a dramatic transformation. Problems here.
Trouble for Greg Murphy. This is the kind of mistake that you don't want, a wheel nut problem.
That's very, very expensive. That's 2 seconds you dump in pit lane. You try and make that up on the track.
Well, that's exactly the same problem that Mark Skaife had, didn't he, at Phillip Island, when Marcus Ambrose ended up coming in, having a nice, clean pit stop. Mark Skaife had a wheel nut problem. The difference there was that Marcus Ambrose managed to hold him out and collect the race win. That'll cost Greg Murphy dearly. The battle you are looking at right now is Stephen Ellery, car number 31. Garth Tander gives him a little tap in car 34, and Craig Lowndes is waiting to pounce.
That was a really nice pass by Stephen Ellery up the inside, and although Tander's got him back, so that was actually good, clean racing, and both very, very good driving from both of them. This is going to be an interesting battle here with Lowndes all over him like a cheap suit at this stage, so this is going to be very interesting, and my teammate's just in front of that, so it's going to be, we'll have to watch this one.
Tander's in 7th. Ellery's in 8th. Lowndes is 9th, but he wants to get up another position. Look how close he is behind the Super Chief.